So our guest speaker today came recommended by John Layton, who's the superintendent, thanks for the correction, for Lafayette School Corporation. So based on that, I can only guess that he thinks very highly of Dave Walker and also the school that he represents, Oakland High School, which is an alternative high school in the Lafayette school system. So we thank you for coming to talk to us during quasi-summer vacation, and we look forward to hearing about the good things that you're doing there.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today and with friends, because I have several acquaintances here, and it's interesting to be in this situation where I work. I talk about my wife, Dawn Walker, as my wife, and here would be Dawn Walker's husband is speaking to you, because more of you guys know Dawn as the marketing director there at Westminster Village and Kiwanis. And so a lot of times they don't make that connection. So it's fun sometimes when, because I work in Lafayette and she works in West Lafayette, people make that connection. So, but yes, that we are the same Walkers, and I also have been enjoying, because of her involvement, your pancake flip every year. And so our fundraiser actually this year was the same day, and so I was there right at the start of it, and there weren't a whole lot of people there, and then John came up and had breakfast because he was going to help with our fundraiser later that day too. So it's a small town, and I think that's what I really like about being here. We have been back in the Lafayette area for about 15 years. This will be my 15th year with the Lafayette School Corporation, and I taught previously in St. Louis, Missouri area. And this is my second year coming up as principal of Oakland High School. I spent 2 years as assistant principal there, and also 2 years as assistant principal at Tecumseh Junior High. And then before that, my teaching career was at Jeff High School, where I taught math. We're located over in Lafayette at 1100 Elizabeth Street, which is the old Washington Elementary building. And it has been repurposed for us to use half of it, and for the LARA program, the Lafayette Adult Resource Academy, to use the other half. And we've made some strides to have those two entities work in the same building. They are excellent partners with us, and they take care of adult education. And then we are a 9 through 12 high school, and we are accredited through the state of Indiana. And I think why we are in existence, and this will be our 7th year as a high school, is that I think there is a great desire on our part to have a school where all students can have a chance to graduate. And you might say, well, every high school should have that as their end goal. But as you know, we have a lot of choice in this area for the type of high school students can attend. And I think that comes from the fact that a traditional high school, where I went to, or where you may have went to, may not reach all students, may not meet the needs of all students. So I think the Lafayette School Corporation 7 years ago was trying to say, what can we do to reach all students? And part of that, and former Superintendent Ed Eiler and former Principal Claire Luchin, who I think many of you may remember, made up the brainchild that is now Oakland High School. And so in an attempt to reach all students, we do things a little bit non-traditionally. And so there's a lot of areas that we do things differently than a traditional high school setting. One of those being we're on a balanced calendar. And so whereas the rest of our corporation is going to start classes August 8th, we're going to start school next Friday. And we're going to do about 9 weeks of instruction, give or take with Labor Day. And then we're going to take 2 weeks off in October. And during that time, we have had some special programs for students to kind of get them back on track. I've had some professional development opportunities for my staff, and also just gives it a chance for there to be a break in a quarter of the school year to kind of reassess what we're doing. And then we'll do 9 weeks again in after October, November, December, and then we'll basically be on the same 2-week break as you would in most schools for Christmas. And we do the same in the spring, do a 2-week spring break, and then we finish up a little bit later than the rest of the schools, but we actually still finish before Memorial Day. So we have a little bit shorter summer, but from my experience, the kids that we serve are ready to come back, even though it's early. They're not complaining about coming back. They're ready. They have been missing school, missing their peers, hopefully missing the staff that we have put together. And then, of course, none of them complain when we leave for October break, and they get 2 weeks off then as well. So that's one of the things that we do a little bit differently. I think one of the main thing day to day that makes us different is we're a competency-based school. So in a typical semester of high school, and I taught math, so I use math as an example, we have several standards that we have to respond to in classes. And so we put all those standards out for students to help them understand this is what you're going to have to accomplish to get credit for this course. And we have some students that can really dive in, work diligently during the school day at home, and they actually will have the opportunity to finish that class before the end of a semester. And so if they are mastering those standards in the time shorter than the class being presented over a semester, we give them the opportunity to take tests and prove they know what they're talking about. And they can get a credit for that at any time during the year. You know, oftentimes it's a month early, say. So they start in August, September, or December is the end of the semester, but they could be done at the beginning of December. And instead of waiting till the January to start a new semester, we start them in the next course the next day. So once they've completed the competencies in the course, they earn credit, and then we get them in the next class the next day. And what I think that helps with for students that may have missed time for school for health reasons or for moving to the area, gives them a chance to recover some things they've already started. And then on the other hand, there are students who work hard during the school day and put in extra time with our staff, and they still need more time. So when that end of a traditional semester comes in December, and they haven't completed all those standards, we don't fail them. We pick up right where they left off January 1st. So there's no need for them to go back and start all over. They just start right where they left off. And before they go to the next course, we're going to make sure they've mastered all the standards of the one they're in. And so then what that creates then is this school setting where we have an algebra class, but this person might be in Unit 3, and this person might be in Unit 4, and this person might be completed with the course and started Algebra 1 second semester. And so our staff has had to learn how to differentiate their approach. And so you see a lot more coaching side by side with students than kind of a whole group instruction like I'm giving right now. So we have to find out what students need to know. We have to get that feedback. But we help them with the things that they are still learning, and we move them along from a point where they, you know, we're not going to make them go back and do things they've already done before. So I think that's suspending time is something that traditional schools really, that's very difficult for them to do. But for us, it's part of our approach, and we, you know, we put the accountability back on the students for, you know, having some responsibility for what they need to learn, asking for help from us, from their teachers, and they can move forward then at their own pace. And some of them choose to go faster, and some of them choose to go slower. But in the end, we try to have them complete credits towards a Core 40 diploma, just like you would at a traditional high school. We had 18 graduates last year, and my school size is typically been around 60 students. So if you had 15 per class, that's kind of how it would break down. We have typically tend to have a larger senior class because we have students join us midway through their high school career in a lot of cases. I do have incoming ninth graders, but a lot of times they'll come to us because they've had some struggles in that traditional setting, and maybe they've gotten behind and they want to come to us to try to see if they can get caught up and back on track. I think a third thing that we do that's not traditional is, and schools are actually trying to instill this in their programs more and more, but we take on the importance of social emotional learning in the curriculum. So we actually have during our school day time where we meet in what we call family groups, because we want our school to have that culture where everybody gets along and we respect one another, so we take time during the day to talk about some of those skills and teach kids how important it is to, get along with people that you may not really know very well. So we try to get them to know each other. And we also try to give them some things that aren't really in course curriculum, but are important for teens as they're growing up and learning about the world. Like we had a speaker come in from Purdue talk about the dangers of cyberbullying. We had this picture here is she is a representative from the Black Cultural Center, and we had a discussion about racial sensitivity. We had a speaker from the YWCA come in and talk to them about domestic violence. And we had a speaker come in with Mental Health America to talk about teen suicide. So we're trying to address some of these issues that all our students are facing, but trying to give them some coping skills so they can put that in the right place so that they can manage that and then be focused in the classroom to move toward their goals academically. And then another major part, and Audrey brought it up, is that we work with community partners to help our students learn. So I have 4 full-time staff. 4. 1 for English, 1 for math, 1 for science, and 1 for social studies. And I have a guidance counselor, but 4 full-time teaching staff. And so students earn electives working with the community around them. And so part of my job from the beginning is to forge these community partnerships where, for example, we take our kids down to the YMCA for PE and swimming classes. We work with the Art Museum of Greater Lafayette to have people come and volunteer and teach our students about art. We've had representatives from Civic Theater teach drama to our students. We work with Work One of Lafayette for a JAG program, that's Jobs for American Graduates. And so they talk with kids about preparing for college and careers, career information exploration, personal finance. We actually bring in JA into our schools for those things too that you guys work with. So through those things and through our freeway licensing, it gives us the ability to not necessarily have a licensed teacher in all those places, but what I feel like are experts in the field that are teaching our students the essential skills that they need. And a lot of those experiences for kids are outside of our walls too. They're at the Y, or they're down at the Art Museum, or over at Purdue. We've had a long-standing relationship with Purdue's counseling department, and their graduate students come over and run small group activities for our kids. So we wouldn't survive without the community around us. And part of what our mission is to get students back out into the community to, get some of those service opportunities. It's that collaborative effort with school and community that really helps us to survive. And I think the more the students understand how much their community supports them, we want to instill the idea that they go back out and support their community around them. And so, with all that being said, and I'm gonna move over here just in case you want to follow me. But our kids are the same kids that are in every school in the Lafayette community, in the West Lafayette community, in Tippecanoe County. They're the same kind of kids. They're not sent to us. It's not, although we are alternative in our approach, we are not punitive. Students can choose to come to us. And I talk with families all the time about, some of our advantages or things that they want to take advantage of. The fact that we're small, the fact that we try to do a little more personalized approach. So the kids that we have, really the makeup of our kids is very similar to what you find at Jeff High School or Tecumseh High School or Tecumseh Junior High. In that, they're coming from all kinds of different backgrounds. And, we just try to do things with them just like any other school would do. And so I wanted to show you a few of those things as we get down here. This is the Oakland High School Twitter page that I encourage you to follow. It's at OaklandHS. And we try to put some information out there for the public to see. And I like to use this in a presentation because it really just shows kids being kids. It shows kids being students. We had our 100th graduate walk across the stage this spring in our 6 years of existence. And we held that at the Sunnyside Intermediate Auditorium. But it's always a great event. We've always held it at a place where they walk across the stage and earn a diploma, get their diploma just like they would at any other high school. But the Sunnyside facility has been great for that. And the way they get there, of course, we talk about credits. They earn credits just like you would at traditional high school, but not necessarily by semester. So this is Alex, one of our students, and he earned one of our first credits of the year and also one of our last credits of the year. And so what we give students is the opportunity to access their materials through our laptops and network 24/7, 365. And so he took advantage of that and actually started class last summer. And when he came back, he was pretty well done by the first few weeks. And so then he earned credit. We had a couple kids do that right off the bat. And then through the course of the year, he's working on other things as well. So we talk about credits a lot, which is not typical, but we want students to be in that conversation. But here's a couple guys that are collaborating on a geography assignment or a history assignment. Here are there's Ashley, and she's a new graduate, and that's her daughter. And she had to miss some time from her high school experience when she gave birth to Ariana, but we don't feel like that should hold kids back from graduating. And she completed all the work required and working with us, and she's now enrolled at Ivy Tech to start working on the next thing. So we help kids juggle that kind of thing. There's Madison. She was our 100th graduate. And that's my guidance counselor, Mary Beth Heyman. And this is Elise, and she's given her final presentation for English, and she did kind of a history of Oakland High School as a product, which is really cool. She went back and talked to graduates and see what they're doing. I have graduates that are here at Purdue. I have graduates down in Bloomington. I actually have one over at Eureka College in Illinois. It's where President Reagan went to school. And I have one down at Birmingham Southern in Alabama. I have students at Ivy Tech. I have students that have entered the world of work, similar to what you see from graduates from any school. But we just celebrate our kids being kids all the time. It's a prom night. We had prom at our school. They decided to have prom in our building, so we decorated our gym. We have previously held it at Moynihan Hall, but the kids this year wanted to save some money so they could have money for other things. So we had prom in our gym and brought in a DJ, and we opened it up to the entire school. So instead of just for junior seniors, we had the whole school invited, and that's still only I think we had 40 students there that night. Which is kind of nice because it's a little easier to manage. You don't have kids running around all over the place. So that's Brandon there and his friend. ladies there, excited. I tried to get pictures in the sunshine when they're coming up to school. This is Shavar. He's a graduate. So Shavar's case is one that I typically will see. He came to us in the fall of his senior year, and he had more credits that he needed to earn than what he could get at a traditional school because they only do 7 periods a day, or, he had more than 7 credits he needed to earn. So because of our approach and the recovery aspect of it, he could come in and finish the little bit he had left in one class and then immediately start the next class. And so we were able to, from the time of him coming to us in November to May, complete 10 credits that he needed to finish. And he's actually going to school down in Florida this fall. I'm not sure which one, but that's what I was told. So we try to celebrate all our credits. There's some students working on some science. I thought this was pretty cool. This is using gummy worms as projects. Very colorful. There's our staff. We had a self-defense class that we had students come in and work on those. A lot of girls taking advantage of that. Taught by a volunteer. We had students recognized by the United Way volunteering because we have a Kids First program that they learn scripts from our volunteers, and then they go into elementary schools and present those scripts, and they're usually about bullying or teasing or how we treat one another. And we do have high school kids, but what they wanted to play at recess was Foursquare. And there was this student here with the white ball cap on. She's very, very competitive in that. She was like the Foursquare champ. So we want them to be kids. We want them to work hard and have fun. We do all the I-STEP testing. This was for our fundraiser. So we are an alternative school. I think really that's the best way to describe us. But we're trying to offer all the things, all the trappings of a traditional school, just in a smaller scale with a lot less staff. With the end result being that we have graduates. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free. We can ask me now or go ahead. Go ahead, Roy.
You said you had 18 graduates. How many of the students would have been eligible because they had been there either long enough or had been exposed to the 4 different curriculum classes and didn't graduate?
I have 2 young men that had not completed their coursework that we actually are still working with, because if you finish, you're allowed by the state of Indiana, if you take a summer class and finish that for graduation purposes, you'd be counted in the class of 2017. So we're still working with 2 young men, but only 2. That the way we would calculate it is we have a 90% graduation rate. Right?
Do you have clubs and other activities like a typical high school would that students can get involved in outside of their academics?
Those have varied through the years based on student interest. I'd have to scroll back a ways, but currently in our building we have a courtyard that our students have made gardens out of. And we had a kind of environmental group the last couple of years. So we have this kind of cycle of food life. They have these worm bins where we purchase worms and we take our lunch extras and recycle those into the worm bin. You add shredded paper to that and the worms make soil. We put the soil in the garden beds that are in the courtyard, and we have planted all these vegetables. Well, in the fall they're ready to harvest. You should see our corn stalks. It's about, I don't know, feels like 12 feet high. Zucchini, cucumbers, peppers. When those are harvested, we have the students get those, and then we give them to our lunch supervisor, and she cuts them up and puts them in salads. And then if they don't eat all the salad, the leftovers go into the worm bin and just repeats all that. So that's kind of a way that we do club as far as the extracurricular, kind of through the day. What they call that Worms Club. And we don't, one of the disadvantages of us being small is we don't have extracurricular activity. We don't have sports, and we don't have music and those kind of programs. And we don't have kids that come to our school and do those at Jeff High School. So we focus just on the academic piece. But we try to have, things for kids, when they tell us that's what they want to do, we try to set those things up. We had a prom committee. We have a yearbook that we put together kind of outside of class. Yeah.
I'm a little confused about the name Oakland. I thought that was the name of a school opposite the frozen custard place.
Well, so our original address was the Oakland Elementary Building, which is right there at the corner of Main and Kossuth, across from Frozen Custard. And it was closed down as an elementary, and we took the space there for 4 years. And because of growth in the Lafayette School Corporation, it has reopened as Oakland Elementary.
Oakland Elementary, I see.
Yes. So then we moved to our current location in the Washington Elementary Building. It's a numbers game. We have 60-ish students, and Oakland Elementary will open with near 240 students. So they have more space there than what we were using. Oakland Elementary decided to go with our balanced calendar, so they're going to start school next Friday as well. But yeah, that's where the Oakland came from.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any vocational training for those who may not graduate, would have some background skills where they might
Yeah.
well
So
in the industry here?
yeah. So the state has really been pushing for students to earn that Core 40 diploma, but there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Jeff High School has a lot of those. It falls under CTE, which is Career Technical Education. And they have a lot of those things available for students. And in the fall of 2018, the Lafayette School Corporation purchased the Lafayette Life Building at Teal Road and 18th Street, and they're going to open a CTE program there that our students will be able to utilize. And we get a lot of the vocational things through the JAG program. They set a lot of internships. So like this summer, I have a student that's interested in being an EMT. And he's doing a ride-along program with Prompt. You may see the Prompt ambulances that go around. So he goes out on calls with them, just sits in the front seat with the driver and then can help assist with things. But he's getting that experience, whether it be, a car accident or, helping pull a cat out of a tree. So, yeah.
Have you done any studies, or is it too early to determine how well your students do who go on to college and find themselves in a more structured academic environment?
Well, it kind of runs the whole gamut of experiences that students have after that. I have a student that graduated from us and went to the Ivy Tech ASAP program, which is where you can earn an associate's degree in a shorter amount of time. And she did that so she could get into Purdue, and she actually graduated from Purdue a semester early. But I have students that have gone to Ivy Tech and have lasted a semester. I have students that have gone and haven't lasted more than a couple weeks. So those are things that we see, that range of students typically. We feel like they're prepared for that next level experience. I would say more of a barrier for our students is a financial barrier, that they don't feel like they can afford to go to four-year schools, which is why a lot of them will go to Ivy Tech first, more than their school preparation. But as you know, schools, and I fall into this category, I had a big wake-up when I started at Purdue in engineering, and you can see where that led because of all the engineering I'm doing here. So, I really didn't have any idea of the rigor of college, either coming from a small rural high school, but traditional high school. So, so I'd say our results are fairly typical. But I like to tend to celebrate our positives, and certainly having our 100th graduate this year was a big success.
Real quick, is Glass still operating at Washington?
The glass offices that, once we moved in, moved to Linwood. Their primary offices are at the Linwood building, another elementary school building that we're not using. And they have some at Durgan Elementary as well. So,
That takes care of my next question.
yeah. But they're still, Glass is the Greater Lafayette Area Special Services that works with students in all the public schools in Lafayette, including ours. I thank you guys so much for having me here today and getting a chance to talk about my school and seeing you. And again, thank you for having me. Dave?